Today's episode is presented by Vaer. Vaer was founded with the goal of building an affordable everyday wristwatch that blends tasteful design with extreme durability and functionality. Vaer returns a sense of dignity to affordable wristwatches and are built to last. Vaer is a true American watch company specializing in both quartz and automatic watches. Vaer is offering our listeners 15% off with the offer code PODGO15. That's PODGO15. Go to VaerWatches.com to learn more and get your new timepiece today.
Ideals like peace, freedom, and justice, they get packed up, but we can all go home. Well, I'm not going home. I'm gonna get on my boat and I'm going upriver and I'm going to kick that son of a bitch Bison's ass so hard that the next Bison wannabe is gonna feel it. Now, who wants to go home and who wants to go with me?
Welcome to the Rated G for Gamers podcast, episode 233. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for Rated G, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Rated G for Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and Facebook at Rated G for Gamers. Search for us in your podcatcher of choice. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
What's going on, man?
It's a little bit of a sad note, right? If 2020 couldn't get any worse, 2020 goes and then gets worse. So it was interesting because we found out at like almost the exact same time. We were texting each other. Did you hear about Chadwick Boseman, a.k.a. Black Panther? And sadly, he passed away from a disease I didn't realize he had. I don't know about you, but he had.
He didn't tell anybody. He didn't
Right.
tell anybody.
Right.
Like for 4 years, he was battling cancer.
He had some cancer complications. Yeah, colon cancer to be specific, which is sad in its own right. You know, it's a battle. It's a thing that's not, you know, sometimes if you catch it early, you can kind of work with it, but there's no cure for cancer yet. So, you know, that stuff's serious. But
It doesn't matter what color you are, how old you are, how much money you got.
No.
It affects you. I was watching Inside the NBA, all right, with because the NBA is back right now.
Yeah, surprisingly.
And Kenny Smith was talking that him and Chadwick sort of became friends after he was on the show like a few months ago, because he was like, he's from South Carolina, and Kenny Smith played for the Tar Heels, so he's a big North Carolina fan. So, and he said, "Hey, I just spoke to him a few weeks ago. Never knew I thought we were good. We were good friends, and I never knew. He never told me what was going on."
Yeah,
everyone just assumed that he was preparing for a role, and that's why he lost a lot of weight.
Right. Yeah, you kind of see it like, you know, looking back at some of the pictures now, you're like, oh yeah, wow. You know, he kind of lost a little bit, but you know, I get that. Like, it's certainly his right to disclose, you know, what's going on in his life. If he wants to share that stuff or not, that's up to him. You know, sometimes you want to keep that stuff private, and I get that. It's very sad. You know, our hearts go out to the family. Right, it's a sad time, but
rest in peace, Black Panther.
Yeah.
I wonder what Marvel's gonna do for Black Panther 2. I'm sure they had to know, like while he was shooting Black Panther, that he was going through this and that this could be a possibility.
Yeah.
I personally
think
like
everybody gets like fitness tests, right? So you have to like make sure that you're healthy enough to film. So I think you're right. Yeah.
I personally think that they're not going to get a replacement for him. They're not going to replace the character. I think they're going to retire the character some way, somehow. And then we'll get a brand new Black Panther. And they'll sort of pay homage to him, sort of like in Fast and the Furious, sort of towards the end, right? Maybe at the end of the movie, you know, like in the spoilers, not really spoilers, you know, Black Panther's been out for a long time.
Right, it's a 2-year-old movie at this point, right? At least.
Yeah, at some point in the movie, at some point in the movie, he's like in this dark forest where he sees like the spirits of all the other Black Panthers. Right, like they could like sort of have his image there, like look upon the new Black Panther. Right, that's how I would end it.
Right. I could get behind that, and it kind of goes with the mythos of Wakanda. You know how, like, you know, the king of Wakanda kind of gets passed on in that way, like just like his father passed it down to him, he could pass it down to somebody else. So, you know, there's ways to do it right. You know, I think Marvel's really good at you know, treating that stuff in the way that it needs to be treated. So I have faith they'll do it right. I think it'll be good. I think it'll fit within the universe too, so that none of the fans are gonna get upset. So
yeah, but all right, we're gonna have an awesome show for you guys this week. Coming up, we're gonna talk digital Gamescom 2020. We're gonna talk the Nintendo Direct that was sort of stealth dropped last week. However, let's begin with sort of a follow up to a story we did, I think, months ago, if not maybe a year ago.
It was definitely 2019. I know everything blurs together.
It's blurry. It all blurs together. I mean, you told me about this, and I didn't even know it at the time. About sort of the X button on the DualShock controller being different in North America than it is, well, being different in Japan than probably anywhere else in the world, right?
So to kind of like, you know, what people don't know, the origins of the PlayStation controller, right? The D-pad is shaped funny because they couldn't make a traditional style D-pad, otherwise they'd pay rights to Nintendo. That's why the D-pad's all weird. And the buttons, they decided to make them, I guess, like pictographs or like little icons to let you know what they do, right? So the circle button originally was supposed to be okay. And the X button or cross button, if you're in Europe, is supposed to be cancel. I think the triangle was supposed to be menu and square was supposed to be map. And like that was kind of the general name for them. And, you know, ideally what Sony thought you would use them for, right? And then the shoulder buttons are just like weird shoulder buttons. You know, they can kind of do whatever they were, you know, camera movement before we had the DualShock sticks. But yeah, so like where we traditionally in America have X as confirmed because it just like it feels nicer down there, right? Because like you're kind of like the middle of your thumb is there, so you kind of just like hit it, or you can drop your thumb down as opposed to going all the way to the right. I think it makes more sense. I don't know about you, but in Japan they have it the other way, right? So circle is the confirm, right? And that's how it traditionally was. So in a stealth update, Sony in like one of their OS updates, they allow Japanese PS4 owners to remap the buttons so you can flip them around to be like the American side.
Wow, that's cool. Well, I would imagine that's really there for people who aren't native to Japan, who are in Japan, maybe. All right, that if they have to buy, like if we lived in Japan, we would definitely remap this to be the other way around.
Oh, of
that's
course,
just what we're used to.
Yeah, I don't want to have to like relearn all like the motor skills, you know, because it's all kind of like built in. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna hit X to like choose this option. All right, it's just kind of built in.
That makes sense. I thought that was interesting. So okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Something else that's pretty cool. Netflix is on a roll. I mean, we got the Castlevania series, right? There was rumors about a Zelda series coming to Netflix. I don't know whatever happened. I don't know whatever happened to that. Yeah, but it looks like
now shut it down.
Well, they probably wanted to put all their focus on the Mario movie first before they do something else.
I think maybe they're dipping their toes back in the water, see how that goes, and if that goes well, like Zelda will be the next one on the block.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about Zelda a little bit later in the show too. But looks like Netflix is going to do a Resident Evil series. That's not canon with the movies, by the way. So it's separate, standalone, its own thing. I think this is a good thing because they can sort of take it back to the beginning, it'll be sort of like a more of a horror movie or horror TV show. I think this is. I'm super interested to see how they're gonna play this. So, I kind of dig this.
Yeah. Is it gonna have Miss Jojovic in it? Like, that's the question that I want to know.
No, it has nothing to do with the movies. She's not gonna be in it. This is a fresh start. She's off hunting monsters and Monster Hunter.
Right.
For the next 10 years.
I have to say, so we just did the Saturday Morning Retro episode, our 4th episode. If you haven't heard that, go over there and listen to that. But we do a segment that's recycle, remaster, or remake on video games. I think if we applied that to this, I would say Resident Evil recycle, because it's got a lot of great ideas but very poor execution. So I think in like capable hands, you can make a series that is a little more like The Walking Dead, right? And a little less like super tongue-in-cheek B-movie style. Because I like some of the things they do, but then other times I'm like, wow, this is really bad. Like, it would be better if it wasn't as, like, silly. I mean, I think depending on who's like producing this, right? And who the director is.
Well, when it's about silly, I was just watching Return of the Walking Dead, or the Return of the Living Walking Dead, or whatever it was called. The second movie not the Walking Dead,
the Living
Living
Night
Dead.
of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. No, I got it mixed up.
Yeah.
Return of the Night of the Living Dead. It came out like in 1985. I was like 3 years old. That movie is super cheesy. Definitely does not. I don't remember it being that cheesy.
Well, like you were young at the time.
I'm confusing. I'm totally confused that the Return of the Night of the Walking Dead. I keep saying Walking Dead, Living Dead.
Uh-huh.
Maybe the next entry in the series, which was the third movie, maybe. Or did they remake it? I don't even know. I got to go back and look. I was just watching it the other day, and I was just like, that. I don't remember this movie being so cheesy.
Maybe you were thinking of the OG Dawn of the Dead, which was in the mid '80s too, I think.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know if you remember watching this movie, but the zombies actually were talking. They can speak.
Like, okay, were they slurring their speech at least? Because
no. So they were like, so they killed the cops or the paramedics, right? Sure. And they would get on the walkie-talkie and say, "Send more cops."
Oh, okay. I mean, all right.
Send more paramedics. I was like, they're zombies talking.
They're like they're trying to mix it up a little bit, right? They're trying to break tradition.
Well, it was it was the second movie, right? It was I guess the second movie in that series,
right?
And it was they captured like a zombie that was probably like in the grave, and like she was missing her legs and stuff, and it was like they were talking to her, and she's like, "It hurts to be dead. We need brains." I was like, zombies talked? Oh my god!
They have some sort of sentience then, which is weird, because then like wouldn't they be like formulating plans as opposed to just like?
But they did formulate plans. No, they did. No, they did. They would say, "Send more cops," and then when the cops would come, and as soon as they get out of the car, they all jump out of the hiding places or whatever. They were like, just jump from behind a tree and come get everybody.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to see it, because man, I don't think I. You
definitely watched it. It was so bad you probably forgot about it.
I don't know, man. Maybe
it was so bad you probably forgot about it. So
maybe.
All right, we'll talk about things that were forgotten. The Game Boy. Let's talk about the Game Boy. You may, Dave. I know we're both collectors, and if you're a collector out there, you may have to dust off your Game Boy and get 4 AA batteries, because in the year 2020 we have a brand new Game Boy game coming out. All right, so this was kickstarted, and I think they hit their goal. They only wanted they scored $28,000, which is for this type of game is probably more than enough money. It's sort of like a point and click horror adventure game.
Right, yeah. Where Is My Body is the name of the game. It's a very, very interesting name.
Well, they're gonna have an American version and a Japanese version, so that's even like more interesting that they're gonna have 2 separate versions. I mean, I wonder who's
Japanese
box
art version at least. I don't know if it's gonna be Japanese. Yeah.
I would imagine if they have, I would imagine if they have a Japanese box art, they would have to be translated. Like this would have to have like a Japanese version on it, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Because I know they always do box art variants and whatnot. I don't think it. Region specific boxes with manual. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess so.
8-bit classic point and click horror adventure game coming out in 2020 for the Game Boy that hasn't been relevant in maybe 20 years.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's it's starting to make that resurgence with all like the kids getting the nostalgia for it. So, yeah, man. I mean, it obviously there's people that want it because it's funded, which is great. Very, very happy for these guys. It looks super cool. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily pick it up, but I think it looks really cool.
It's okay. It's going to be about $49.99 along those lines. So I don't think I'm clamoring to pick it up. I guess it all depends how I feel. If I see it, maybe I will. I have no plans on getting it though. I'm not really a big point and click adventure game type of person, especially if it's a horror game. But it looks interesting.
All right.
So Dave, as we always try to start the show but epically fail, what have you been playing?
My favorite part of the show. And Dan, this is going to be your favorite part of the show today because I am playing a game that I know that you play year after year, and I think you have them. I think you have them all from when they like kicked off this franchise. But I ended up playing the NBA 2K21 demo.
Wow.
Last night. Because I was like, oh shit, they have a demo, right? And you can play as, there are like 4 teams you can play as, right? You can play as the Milwaukee Bucks. I think you can play as the Lakers. You can play as the all-time Lakers. And you can play as the all-time Celtics, right? So I did the all-time Lakers versus the all-time Celtics, and I was like, it brought me back, right? Because you're sitting there and like you're playing with Shaq and you're playing with Kobe, then you're also playing with Kareem, right? Against like against like Larry Bird and the boys. I'm like, wow, this is a trip. And it looked good. I didn't really know what I was doing because I'm not really a basketball guy, and I haven't played a basketball game in like ages. So like I tried to run through like the tutorial and I was lost. Like I get what they were going for, where you can like use like the sticks and kind of like use the momentum, right? So like you're running up to the shot and you like swing left and then like let go, and you got to like hold down the X button till it gets to like the sweet spot. I'm like I get it, like conceptually, but like in execution, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Dave, let me help you.
Go ahead, please do.
Learn how to run a play to do a pick and roll, and it'll make your life better. Once you get down how to shoot, okay?
Yeah.
Once you get down how to shoot,
the pick and roll,
learn how to do a play, a pick and roll. Okay. It's just that's like basics right there.
Yeah. So you box him out and then you kind of like run around the guy, right? Yeah, that's the technique. Okay.
And it frees you up for a second to take a shot, or if the lane is clear, you can drive it to the basket. So, nice. That's interesting that the demo sort of has classic players, because traditionally, the demo is usually you play one game from whoever was in the finals the year before. Right.
Yeah, right. I was surprised there was more than 2 options, right? Usually it's like, well, here's 2 teams.
Yeah, it's usually you get to play Toronto Raptors or the Golden State Warriors, who both teams are drastically different than they were last year.
Right.
And that's probably why they changed it.
Yeah, were those the teams that won last year, right? Yeah.
Well, they
were in the finals.
They were in the finals, and the Toronto Raptors won with Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard's now playing for the Clippers.
Well, I know why.
Toronto's still playing good though.
Okay. I mean, I know why they have the Lakers in there because of the whole like Kobe thing, right? You know, the whole 2020 is the worst year ever. Not to bring that up again, but we did lose a great Kobe Bryant earlier in the year, and they have this 2021 version. There's a Mamba version, right? A Black Mamba version, right? You can get that, and that's like the specialty cover. So I get why they have that, and it was like really cool to see Kobe back on the court again. Like he looks beautiful. It's rendered great. I was like, oh shit. That kind of felt good to see him in there. But so I played that. It does have a 5-game limit. So after like your 5 games, I guess you get locked out, right? And you can just do the one exhibition. So that's it. And they have like the little tutorial. You can make a character, which I don't think you could import to your team. So it was really just like, here's the character creator if you want to see how it works. I made a guy. It was cool. He looks nothing like me, but it's fine. Beyond that, I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn still. So
Nice.
I'm putting in the work there. Finally learned how to use the Tripcaster. I realized that you have to point it at 2 different locations. I was holding it like I was holding the other end like it was a tripwire, right? So I was like, oh, you just kind of like hold it out like it's a rope and you tie the one end around the tree. You have to put both up. And then you like trick the dinosaur into coming after you. And I was like, okay, I get it now. Okay. I had to watch a video on that. They didn't make it that clear.
Okay.
But that's what I've been getting into. How about you?
I've been playing Samurai Showdown for the Neo Geo, Samurai Showdown Neo Geo collection on the Switch. Mm-hmm. I've been playing through. So it's basically it's the Samurai Showdown 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
4 and 5, and then there's like 2 different versions of 5. Just like it's just like Street Fighter. You got Street Fighter Championship Edition, Super Street Fighter 2, right? So
right. They're just like they're extra DLC and whatever all packed in there. Yeah.
And they're all the arcade versions too, so that you can't change, or at least I couldn't find a way to change the difficulty settings, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's just the arcade version. The first 2 games, super hard, super tough. The old school game tough.
Right.
The 3rd, 4th, and 5th games, just a little bit easier to play. Still hard, but still a little bit easier to play. Right. The first version you play is like a piece of cake, and it progressively gets harder and harder as you go along.
Right.
I've been loving that. I've been playing it on the Switch Lite.
Nice.
Just as a quick something I can get in and I get out.
Yeah, my man was always. We still like the first couple ones. My man was always Ginan with the giant claw. The one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that dude.
He wasn't in the other ones. Like I don't think they ever brought him back, and I was a little upset.
I was thinking about getting. I have Samurai. I have the original Samurai Showdown for the Genesis in box. Sure. I was debating if I wanted to get it for the Sega CD. The music is a little bit better on there, and then they say some different words.
Right.
They have a little bit of dialogue, a little bit better dialogue than the Genesis version. And I did play it when I was a kid. I didn't own it, so I was debating. I mean, it's not cheap, right, for what it is. It's at least like $90, $100. Oh
yeah. Did they do the? If they did the like the screen zoom in and out, or was it like fixed and it just moved left and right?
What, on the Sega CD version? Mm-hmm. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I know the Super Nintendo Genesis ones, they legit couldn't do that. It was just too taxing on the hardware. But I know, the more capable machines, obviously the Neo Geo could do it. I think the 3DO version did it. Load times were atrocious, apparently, but, it did have the screen scaling, which was nice.
So, on that note, why don't we take a break? When we come back, we'll get into the top gaming news of last week.
Hey, this is Matt Adler, freelance journalist for IGN, and you're listening to Rated G for Gamers podcast.
And we're back. Let's get into the top gaming news of last week. Let's start with Gamescom 2020. It was interesting. I was kind of wondering how this was going to go, because Gamescom is less of an E3, more of a, PAX on steroids situation, right?
Yeah. It's it's kind of a lot of hands-on. It's not necessarily a lot of new, announcements and all that. I think, right? I think it's a little more like hands-on.
Well, you do. I mean, we get some announcements. Like Sony typically doesn't go there because Sony is going to Tokyo Game Show, which is like 2 weeks later. Right. Because they're they're big in Japan. They're big in Japan, so they usually don't historically don't come to Gamescom, but Xbox does, Microsoft does. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I thought we would get, because we haven't heard anything from Microsoft this month, right? They said they would have something new for the Series X every month, and the only thing we got new this month was Halo was delayed.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't get anything new this month.
Rip a 2020 release.
Yeah. So I thought we would get the Scarlet, the rumored Scarlet all digital Xbox Series X edition, right? We get nothing. So I thought we would get something at Gamescom regarding Microsoft, and we got nothing. But we did get something from Sony, which was different, which was weird, right? Because they're usually not at Gamescom. And we got extended gameplay of Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart. It's confirmed to be PS5 launch window. So,
and you know what launch window means. That's a term that Microsoft coined back in the day, right? Because back when they had slim pickings at their launch, they're like, we're gonna reinvent what a launch is for a console, and instead of day one, right? Well, I guess they kind of made a difference between day one and launch window, and they're really like, we have a bunch of games coming out in our launch window, so it's like the first 30 days from the console, and it's like, no, well, I want to know what I can play on day one. So this is going to be a little bit after the fact, which okay, it should be within the first year, right? It should be before 2021, right?
Oh, it's going to be. So look, I think they still, again, Spider-Man sort of launching holiday 2020, right? So we don't even know if that's coming day one with the PS5. But I would say you want to, since it's two first-party games, they don't want to put it at the same time to compete with each other. They want to give it a little bit of room to breathe. So I would say Spider-Man would come first, right? And I know Ratchet and Clank sort of has that, kitty aesthetic, aesthetic to it, right?
Right. It's legit geared towards the younger. Yeah.
But kids love Spider-Man too. kids love the young Spider-Man too. So I think Spider-Man would be first to come out, if not not day one, but definitely week one. I think Spider-Man would come out, and then maybe 2 weeks later, Ratchet and Clank. So maybe like that first week of December.
So you think they're deliberately moving it to have less competition?
Two first-party games? Yes. I think.
Interesting.
I think they're saying, you know what? Let's give it a little bit of time to breathe. Spider-Man first, and then listen. If Spider-Man is just sort of an expansion, that was this criticism. It's not like a full-fledged next game,
right? It's ostensibly using the same exact engine as the first one, just with some next gen enhancements to it, and be like, here it is, here's your Miles Morales game, which is why they were able to flip it around so quickly, right?
Yeah, so that means you could probably beat it within a week or two, and then you're going to be craving something else, and then you'll have Ratchet and Clank.
See, I took it from a different standpoint because, well, one because it's a new console launch, right? So you want all your heavy hitters. You want as many heavy hitters as possible out. And these are two heavy hitters, right? The Spider-Man game is great. Spider-Man's got name notoriety. Ratchet and Clank, a beloved game series exclusive to the PlayStation platform, right? I don't think he came out on any other Nintendo or Xbox platforms. So even though it's not, well, I mean, I guess it is a first-party game, right? In that way, It's coming from Sony Studios, right? So, because it's the holidays, I think all bets are off, right? Everyone's spending, they're already spending ideally $500 on a new console.
Well, then it's an Insomniac game, so it's the first party.
Yeah, okay. So I thought it was well, we need a little bit more time to put some polish on this, right? We need an extra month. Let's go ahead and kick it out a little bit so we can still get it out for Christmas, but we can have the best thing out there. That's kind of what I was reading from it. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it is let's go ahead and stagger this a little bit so we don't compete with ourselves. That's a possibility, but yeah.
Oh, well, let me just say, rewind. Let's take it back for a second. Geoff Kieghley, opening that live, sort of kicked everything off, and he was, again, what I knew he would be doing, sort of this virtual green screen from all around. It didn't have that same effect of having a crowd there, but I didn't. How did you like that? I wasn't really digging that as much as I thought I would. I thought I would like it.
I would have to say it was on par production value with the PlayStation one, if not even maybe a little bit better, because they had some augmented reality stuff there, and when they had Doc Brown come on with Surgeon Simulator, they had some some production value to it, right? It was I mean, obviously it's never going to be the same as having a big auditorium with 10,000 people in it, right? And, you just can't have that now. I mean, unless you're a
certain person in the world. Yes.
We could say President Trump. It's fine.
Yeah.
He can do what he wants with that. But I mean, anybody else is not going to have a thing a big event like that. So I thought it was good. Production value seemed like pretty high. Now we'll get into the content, right? Whether we thought the content was good, but I thought the presentation was on point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. Well, speaking of content, something that I know you're big on, I was really sour on this. I was really down on this. We knew from the last Game Awards that Dragon Age 4 was coming. We saw a logo.
Yeah, right. We got the Elder Scrolls treatment. We got the Elder Scrolls treatment, right?
Yes.
Here's a moving JPEG. Deal with it.
Not even. We got the Metroid Prime 4 treatment.
But yeah. Oh yeah. True. Right.
And then we heard. Yeah. You would think, since they announced that it's coming, that we would get some gameplay of that at this point, maybe, right? Or even a CG trailer.
You get a little sizzle reel at this point, I think, yeah.
We got concept art and behind the scenes making of the concept art.
Well,
right? That means this game is nowhere near. This game is in the concept art phase, right? Like they don't know what the story is going to be. They can't even come up with a CGI trailer because they don't even know what they're going to do.
Look,
why is this a thing?
It's a proof of life to let you know the game is still alive and we're working on it. And it's look, it's gonna be a while. The zombie apocalypse took a big toll on our studio, and obviously when they showed the logo, this really tells us when they showed the logo, they were in the very, very, very early stages of production on this. I would assume a few months before they're like, let's make a sequel to Dragon Age again, and all they could really show was like, look, here's like a teaser, because it's still way early in production.
Wait.
So.
Okay, Dave, you like Tony Hawk games, right?
I love Tony Hawk games.
Okay, so we know that they're making the next Tony Hawk game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they're making the next Tony Hawk game. So they announced that they were working on it. So what happens next year where they say, hey, Tony Hawk, right? And they just start throwing the skateboards around and you see people skateboarding and it's like, yeah, the next Tony Hawk game. We're thinking about this is what we want to do.
Uh-huh.
Like, come on.
Well, yeah, two completely different genres. That's like comparing Madden football to Final Fantasy VII. They are completely different and on a totally different scale, right? The football game is ostensibly the same engine, just with slightly better graphics and maybe like a new move or two. It's not radically different. So I would expect them to have Madden ready to go. Something like Dragon Age, right? Like, and
well, no. Well, it doesn't matter what the genre is. It's the point that, hey, we're announcing we're making this new game, right? Okay, all right. So you're making the new game. So don't shut up. So don't say anything until you have something to show. But you have nothing to show, but people are riding skateboards saying this is what we think that we want to do with the next game.
It was weak, but I'm not disagreeing with you. It was certainly weak, but that's all they had. So Kiwi worked out some time for them, or they worked out some time with Kiwi, and they wanted to let people know, hey, this is what we got going on, and this is what it is. And it was probably the weakest part of the presentation. So,
yeah, I was not impressed.
Well, of course not. Who's going to be impressed by like a behind the scenes thing, right? That's like DVD bonus features when you buy the special edition.
Yeah, well,
that's not what you want to see at it's not what you want to see at a games presentation. You want to see gameplay footage. All right.
I want to see gameplay footage, or I want to see a CGI trailer indicative of what the game would be.
And we got that with just about everything else. So
except for this they could have cut from
100%. This was definitely the fat on the steak.
So we got a little bit of bad news as well. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga has been officially delayed until spring of 2021. It was supposed to come out this holiday season, but they did announce that there will be PS5 and Xbox Series X versions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I don't think anyone's like, crying over this necessarily. Not to say these games are bad by any means, but they're all relatively the same, right? I don't expect this to be any different than the previous 6 septilogy, right? Is that it? Sextilogy, right? Is that like a 6-part series?
Whoa, you said sextilogy.
That's what they call it.
Sextilogy?
Like sextuplet, all right? That's just what it is. It's a group of 6.
I thought it was sextuplet.
Double sex, X-E-X-E-X-T, S-E-X-T.
Sextuplet?
Sextuplet, yeah. That's a group of 6.
I feel like you made that up. I feel like you made that up, just like the Breath of the Wild.
Okay. Breath of the Wild. That was you, by the way, all right? You still don't want to believe it. You still don't go back to the old episode. God.
I still believe that was you.
All right. That's fine.
Well, this is what I did want, though. We got something I did want to see, and that is new IP. Okay? We got... They just... It was kind of weird, because I was like, what is this? It looks interesting, and it's called Unknown 9 Awakening, right? It was sort of like a mysterious new IP revealed. It's from Bandai Namco. I was kind of digging it. It was sort of, I resonated with it because it was like someone being bullied and she had like superpowers and like sort of chased the bullies away. Mm-hmm. So I was all for it.
Yeah, we're cool.
Still kind of, it's a little mysterious, right? It was just like, it came out of nowhere, didn't know what it was and didn't hear much about it afterwards. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
well, now you're just hyped for when the game comes out later, right? And then we'll get a gameplay trailer at some point in time, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this game. And
but it seems like
it'll do gangbusters.
But it seems like it's a PS5 game only at this point, right? Nothing about the Xbox Series X.
PS5 and PC right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to believe this is maybe just a console timed exclusive. Maybe it'll come out in the Series X at some point.
Or they don't have the resources to work on multi-platform. It may be a little easier just to do the one console right now, and so it could be that. But I think you're right. Given unlimited resources and no exclusivity agreements, there's really no reason for a company to not put it out on multi-platforms.
But something I got really hyped for, we knew about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. We seen the logo. We knew it was happening. But then we actually got a trailer for it. And it looks like it spans different time periods too, right? Sorry, it seems like you're going to do missions in just different time periods. And it had Ronald Reagan in it.
I mean, it makes sense, Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall, like, that was his thing, even though that was, yeah. I mean, like, the fall of the wall was a big thing, man. Communism was alive and well up until the late 80s, right? With the USSR and.
But it looks like it talks about the start of the Cold War, like many years prior to, and then it leads up, and then maybe you're doing. It's not like a war as far as like, big combat between hundreds and thousands of army men on one side and army men on the other side from another country. It looks like it's sort of like you're doing certain missions to combat each other, right? Like we're getting that espionage type missions, but it's not going to be stealth, I think.
Right. Yeah, so it's I figured they would kind of lean a little more heavily into that, but it is still a Call of Duty game and people want the bang bang shoot 'em up action, so
they want the action. Yeah. I know I want that.
So I think kind of putting it over because the Cold War was like a 30-40 year war, right? Like, all that kind of spy espionage and the behind the scenes stuff and the going behind enemy lines and and all this stuff lasted a long while, so it makes sense for them to kind of span it. Hopefully some of the characters, like, you see them in their younger form and then in their older form, where they're still like part of the the army or the special forces or whatever group that you're kind of dealing with. I think like that would be kind of cool.
And then Curveball, Respawn.
Yes. Of Titanfall fame, by the way, right? We should note.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody knows. Medal of Honor is making a comeback. It's going to be out for VR this holiday season. It's going to be a VR game, which is a bold move.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Like whenever I see Respawn, I'm like, come on, Titanfall 3. It's never Titanfall 3. Which is sad because I loved Titanfall, and I think you
or
like
Jedi Fallen Order 2.
Jedi Fallen Order. Oh, that was also them too. That's right. EA keeps putting them on other projects that aren't Titanfall. and now we have a VR-specific Medal of Honor game. It looked like they were playing on PC hardware. It looked like Oculus, I think, right? So,
well, by all the accounts, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be sort of. I doubt it's going to be Oculus exclusive. Maybe Oculus has like the marketing behind it, just like PlayStation has the marketing for Call of Duty.
Well, I mean,
Microsoft has the marketing for Cyberpunk.
It is the more powerful of the two, right? So it kind of makes sense. You would build for the big platform. Well, Oculus versus like PSVR, right?
Oh yeah, but it's more than two. You got Vive as well, so it's
right.
Not just,
and Vive is more powerful than the PSVR as well, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the entry level model. So.
Well, it's not a comparison. It's basically saying that they have the marketing for it, but I don't think because Activision, I doubt Activision's gonna lock it behind just one platform. They're gonna want to give it out on all platforms to make as much money as they can, right?
Well, right. I mean, if you can get it to run, effectively, given like the setup and all that, right? Because there's some games that they'd have to like massively scale down to get up on the PlayStation 4, and they're just like, we're just going to do a Steam release. We're just going to have it on like the Vive and the Oculus, and then just kind of like leave it at that, Because I mean, it is like a little bit different in that way, and you're playing with a different controller. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out.
Guys can put games on the Switch, which is way less powerful. They can do it,
but it takes a lot of like backbending and hoop jumping. It takes a lot of work, It's not a simple task.
Scale it down. Come on, if they can get The Witcher playing on the Switch, they can do this on the PS4.
There you go. The Witcher playing on the Switch on a 5-year-old game, right? 5 years after the fact. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it comes to the PSVR. I think it'd be kind of cool.
All right.
I know you're gonna pick this game up and never play it if it comes out for the PSVR.
It will be in the collection.
Yeah, exactly.
I always have that option.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, speaking of PlayStation next-gen consoles, we are waiting with bated breath for when we can. Well, through when we can buy it. I'm still waiting to know how much it's going to cost me. We still don't know how much any of the games are gonna. We're gonna know like a
week before. We're gonna know a week before. Once you can pre-order it, right? It's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be $5.99. Like, okay, thank you.
But PlayStation has sort of Sony's doing a raffle for certain people to buy the PS5.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So they're giving you a chance to buy. You put in your PlayStation ID name, and you're going to get in a raffle, and some people will be picked just for the honor of buying it. So this is cool because you can buy either one PS5 console or one PS5 all digital console. You can only buy 2 DualSense controllers, 2 DualSense charging stations, 2 Pulse 3D wireless headsets, 2 media remotes. Why would you need 2 media remotes? And 2 HD cameras.
Yeah, the whole 2 camera thing, 2 remote thing is weird. Maybe they just got lazy and said, all right, 1 console, 2 of everything else. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know why you need a backup camera. I don't know why you need a backup remote, right? I mean, how often does it get lost? How often does it break down?
I think it's more so if you look at this closely, you can buy one of each console, right? So you can buy one of each console. You can buy 2 DualSense controllers, one for each console. You can buy 2 DualSense charging stations, one for each console.
You can get 1 discless and 1 with disc.
I think so.
I don't know about that. Because I mean, as much as I would love to have both versions, I don't need it. I'm only going to get the disc one now, and maybe later on I'll get the discless. But I don't think they would do that.
Well, maybe just they know people are probably going to resell it, so you can only buy 2 instead of 1.
Well, why not just limit it to 1 then, right? If
it's kind of weird.
Case. Yeah.
No, that's kind of weird. Unless I can buy one of each console, that is kind of weird. You're right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's shift gears and talk about Microsoft. So we still don't know. We haven't got the Scarlet. The Scarlet hasn't been announced.
Nope.
We don't know how much the Series X is going to cost. We didn't get anything new for the month of August, except for Halo being delayed. But we did get some new Halo news. They did announce, because there were rumors that Halo would be delayed even further out into 2022, and maybe it would come out separate from the multiplayer. They have squashed those rumors. They've said no, it's definitely coming out in 2021, and it's going to come all together. But
I didn't think they would be able to do that. Fans would be very upset.
But it looks like they've enlisted the help of Halo veteran Joseph Staten to come back to 343, sort of as a consultant to help with Halo Infinite. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, look, he played a major role. I mean, he already works for Microsoft. He helped launch Tell Me, which came out this week. It's sort of like a Telltale game, right? Like a Life is Strange game that looked interesting. I think it was on the Xbox Series X sort of showcase of first party games. But he used to work for Bungie, and he did help put out the first 3 Halo games. He worked on a story. So this tells me that the campaign's not ready.
Right. Well, I mean, it says here in the article that he's working on the project lead for the multiplayer experience.
Well, he could be doing that, and he could be helping on the campaign.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the other guy that they got. Yeah, Staten's working on the story, and Pierre Hintz,
yes,
who's the head of he was the head of publishing for the Master Chief Collection. He's going to be doing the multiplayer stuff. This other guy, Staten's going to be doing the story. So
yes, I was gonna get to the other guy a little bit later, but I think really they want to get that patch in, all right, that ray tracing. They want to make it look pretty. They want to make it look pretty, and I think the campaign may have problems. To be honest, that's what I'm really worried about. That's my main focus.
Maybe, and they did have a big problem with Halo 5's campaign. People universally really didn't like it that much. I didn't think it was that great. They didn't really invest a lot in kind of the drama between Locke and Master Chief, right? It was a little weak, right? Coming off of 4, which had a much better story, I think, but a lackluster multiplayer. 5 had a poor story and a very good multiplayer, right? They kind of returned to form a little bit, changed some things up. They made it less Call of Duty and a little bit more like Halo. Added some cool new stuff in there. So, yeah. I mean, it's not a good look when you hear a story like this, right? When you have to bring in people to kind of like oversee things. But you know what? I know they have a good, talented studio. There's a lot of veterans in there, people that have worked on, Halo for kind of years and years. So they have good people. Sometimes you just need like kind of an orchestrator to say, look, we have this amount of time left. We got to get all this stuff done, and here's how we're going to do it, right? And you kind of maximize the amount of time that you have. You work on the most critical things. You get in the ray tracing in there, right? Make sure the multiplayer experience is running smooth and that, it's like good across the board. You have good frame rates in there, and, you kick the game out, hopefully before like E3 next year, and, it does like gangbusters. That's what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning a good product when it comes out.
I stand back. I think this is a holiday 2021 game.
Holiday 2021? I mean,
it'll be just in time to be nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards 2021.
Well, that's like the easy guess, right? Put it out before the holidays so we can make money next year and give us all the time to work on it. But what are you gonna play in the meantime? Right? You're gonna wait a whole year? Like that's gotta hurt.
I think they have other things in the hop that they want to do that we just haven't heard about because they have to get Halo right. But it's not gonna be out by that time, right?
Halo. We haven't heard about any of the other games that are like slated to come out or any like release dates. Like what do we got in January, February, March, April, May?
Well, just because we haven't heard about it doesn't mean they don't have something ready, working on something to bring out. They just, they're trying to get through the launch of the system first.
Well, I need to see a sizzle reel or a gameplay trailer of one of the 12 studios, one of their games that's like, all right, coming out 2021 in like May, and then I'll be a little less like, what am I going to play in this system?
Psychonauts 2.
We
It's been
know
delayed.
we know that
delayed.
Psychonauts 2 is going to be there, and it's going to be great. But that's one game versus your Spider-Man for PlayStation and your Ratchet and Clank. That's like 2 games within the first month that are really going to be the system sellers, right? Like that's going to really do well for Sony. Like Microsoft doesn't have that at this point. Like Halo was going to be their thing, and now it's like we have to put the brakes on it. It's going to be tough.
They have nothing. They have nothing that's coming out right now. They have nothing. They have nothing. No first party studio game, right? That's ready to go.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
They're going to rely on they're going to rely on Games Pass and third parties. They're going to say, "Hey, this is the best place to play Madden. This is the best place to play 2K21. Like this is the best place to play all your third party games. We have the marketing for Cyberpunk. So when you think Cyberpunk, you think Microsoft,
right?
So I think that's what they're betting on.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the Game Awards, right? Like Game Awards 2021. Hopefully we're back to normal and we could do sort of arena style stuff with people, an audience.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we gonna do about Game Awards 2020, right? And Geoff Kieghley was on Unfiltered with Ryan McCaffrey for IGN. Great show, by the way. I suggest everyone go listen to it. It's sort of his like table talk with deep dive with the developer. He does it every month. So this month he had Geoff Kieghley, and Geoff Kieghley talked about the Game Awards still happening. It just obviously won't be in an arena. It won't be at the Microsoft Studios arena. That's in LA. It's gonna probably be digital, but it won't just be him in front of a camera giving out awards. They're gonna try to switch it up and do some new things. And he also said, which I thought was interesting, that the planning for the Game Awards starts 6 months, sort of 6 months prior to.
Oh yeah, man.
But
it's a big production.
Yeah, it's a big production, but he usually has to line up the arena a year in advance.
Sure, of course.
So,
of course,
I would if I can ask Geoff Kieghley one thing, it would be like I'm sure he lined up the arena.
Yeah, what happens to your
zombie before the zombie apocalypse happened, right? Right, because I mean, if he has to line it up a year in advance, he probably had to line it up maybe December or January,
and
right?
that was put a down payment on the thing, right? It's like you have to secure it.
So will it be Geoff Kieghley sort of in an empty stadium, or like an empty arena?
I highly
a lot
doubt
of
that.
a lot of CG stuff, but sort of like in an open arena, right?
I highly doubt that, because you're gonna have an arena of nobody. That's gonna be weird.
Well, I mean, they play basketball.
What do you do? Fill it up with cardboard cutouts like
they play basketball in an arena of nobody. They've had
they have to. They have
wrestling
to play
in an arena of nobody, right?
Well, right, but I mean, they physically need the squared circle, and they physically need 2 nets on a hard court, right? Where else are they going to play basketball? Are they going to go out to the schoolyard?
I'm saying he could switch it. Well, it'd be outside. It would be outside. I'm saying they could switch it up and he could be in different parts of the arena, and obviously CG behind him, like sort of like here's the logo and the award for whatever and then here are the nominees, and just switch it up. I really didn't like the whole green screen around. Just he's behind the whole green screen completely.
Yeah,
I wasn't really feeling that. I mean, he could have some of those segments there too, but I kind of like the idea of him maybe being in an arena and doing something different.
I mean, yeah, it's nice if they could do it in a way where you didn't see the audience per se, but you did get like wide angle shots and like the zoom ins, and they faked crowd noise. Like, all right, maybe, but I feel like it's a lot of work that's not going to add up to that much. Like, as much as I love the arena experience like you do, as much as I love having the crowd and, it amps everything up, it's a lot of work for not a lot of gain, I don't think, because you're never going to have the audience there, right? And if they're like, if they're doing it online, they can save a hell of a ton of money and use whatever studio they used for the Gamescom thing, right? I thought that was, I thought it was pretty high production value for what it was. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll use the arena. I mean, nobody else is going to be using it, so.
Oh, since he already paid for it, you never know.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Can he get his money back in the deposit, right? If he can, he's like, well, I'm going to use this damn arena.
But a lot of people watch the Game Awards for the sort of exclusives, right? Mm-hmm. And we know what Sony's bringing. We know what Microsoft is delaying, but we don't know what Nintendo is doing. We don't know. And we thought historically, after sort of, they had a Partners Direct, right? Or in an Indie Direct, that we thought they would have a regular Direct right afterwards. And we did get a Direct. It was a stealth Direct, but it was another Partner Showcase Direct. Mm-hmm. But this one was better than the first one we got, I believe. And I feel like they could have just not shown that first one and combined it with this, to be honest, and it would have been a little better.
Yeah.
On this Direct, we got Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, which is sort of a rhythm game with the Kingdom Hearts characters, coming out November 13th. I know you were all about it because you played the other Final Fantasy rhythm game on DS.
Well, it's like legit. It's the theater rhythm style of games, right? So you get a bunch of tracks and you got to bop to the rhythm, right? And you'll have all the cute visuals in the background. I mean, it's cool, but I know Final Fantasy more than Kingdom Hearts, so the nostalgia factor is high there. It's not as high for Kingdom Hearts. I'll still probably pick it up and mess around with it, but I mean, it was cool. Like, it looked cool.
We got a look at Fuser. It shows off a collaborative multiplayer and reveals new songs. I mean, this is a great game if you want to learn to be a DJ.
Yeah,
Be a virtual DJ. I thought that was cool.
It's exactly like Drop Mix without the Drop Mix board. So you basically just play Drop Mix on your console, which is neat.
We got something that I thought. I mean, I know some people were down at it. I was really up on this. I really thought it looked good. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how it plays, but Big Rumble Boxing Creed Championship Edition is coming in spring of 2021.
We don't get boxing games a lot. Like, when was the last boxing game that came out?
Creed VR.
I think you're right. Creed VR, which was like 2 years ago or whatever, right? We don't get Fight Nights on the annual. We don't get Punch-Out games like ever. So I'm with you on this. Like, I like boxing games.
I thought this was Punch-Out with
Rocky.
I thought this was Punch-Out with Rocky. I legit thought that.
That would be awesome. Everybody wants a new Punch-Out game. Rocky would kind of fit, I think, within that world. They could make it work.
So, speaking of Final Fantasy, we got the collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legend, right? Coming in December 15th.
Yeah. Very, very interesting about this game. I know, not your jam. I would bet money you never played the Game Boy versions, but
100%.
They were Saga Frontier, or Saga, or Romancing Saga, or whatever. There was a bunch of different Saga games, right? But because the West is the West, and Japan thought differently of us, they're like, we don't know if people are gonna buy this, so let's go ahead and call it Final Fantasy, even though it had nothing to do with the Final Fantasy franchise. All right, it was completely different. They had robots in the game and mutants and monsters you could have in your party. It was very much a Saga game. It was great. Don't get me wrong. Like, I loved those games. So very, very happy to see this come over. And this like comes after all of the Mana games, right, or Mana games, right? The whole collection of Mana. They had like 3 of those games in the series that like came over this year, or I think last year on the Switch, and that did like really well. So now we get a new collection. Very happy about this. All right, I can play it on my modern console.
Well, something that also you'll be happy about. We get Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. Yeah, right. This is coming in December. I know you're a big Puyo Puyo fan.
I mean, I'm a big Tetris fan. I like Puyo Puyo, and the mix is nice. I still don't know what's new about this version. I don't know if I can spend $60 on it. Wow. It didn't seem like a lot of new stuff in there. I don't know.
Well, talking about things that you don't know if you can spend $60 on, unless it was coming out on the Wii. Sadly enough, not coming out on the Wii. Just Dance 2021.
Oh, you should be happy about this. Why are you not happy about this?
I don't know. It's like, rest in peace, the Wii. This is like one of the nails in the coffin that was, it was keeping it alive.
No, for a console that came out in 2006, a 14-year-old console, Ubisoft was still putting out Just Dance games. And I guess, like, to be fair, the Wii games do play on the Wii U, so they're technically also Wii U games.
Yes,
which is a
correct.
console from 2012, which is 6 years post. So, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I could go out on a limb here, Dan, I don't think any of these games you'll be picking up, besides maybe the Rumble boxing. So I would assume that this really wasn't a big splash in terms of, like, here's what Nintendo has coming.
I would buy the Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I like the Kingdom Hearts characters, and I'm not
Sure.
I'm not crazy about rhythm games, but if it's rhythm games with characters that I recognize and enjoy, I would play it. Again, I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, so that doesn't appeal to me.
Right.
So, well, let's stick with Nintendo and let's stick with the Switch. Last year, there were reports that we would get 2 new Switches, 2 different SKUs. It was rumored to be sort of a lesser version, like a Switch Lite and a Switch Pro version. We did get 2 SKUs. We did get a Switch Lite, but we never got a Switch Pro. It's just a different chip and better battery life, right? A slight upgrade because the battery life was better. However, it physically looked the same. No major increase, so no Pro edition.
Right, same like form factor and all that, just better battery life, more or less.
But Economic Daily News reports that a new version of the Switch will enter production later this year, and it's set to launch in retail first quarter of 2021. And this new version will feature improved interactivity and a better quality display. So everyone is all up in arms, all going crazy because they think it's a Pro version, right? Maybe I would love to have I know I said 4K. I know you said, it'd be a 1080.
Well,
at least
I mean,
60 frames per second. That would be a great upgrade.
Sure. If you could have a smoother experience on that, I'm sure you get a lot of people to buy it. All right. And they kind of have to compete a little bit, not directly with the current gen consoles, but they need to be able to, this thing came out only like 3 years ago, right? They're not going to drop it anytime soon. There's a lot of great games on there, but I do think they start to need a little bit more horsepower underneath the hood, to make these experiences better, either to build bigger, better worlds that kind of have like the wow visual factor, or a better, smoother gameplay experience, like, you're saying, like with like 4K or 1080 and like 60 frames, to kind of get that smooth experience when you're playing Breath of the Wild too. Like either way, that would kind of go a long way. And you still have the baggage of like, you have to develop for the lowest common denominator, the OG Switch console, right? So you still have to do that, but you can take advantage of the extra headroom in the new console, right? And it's like, well, you can get the XL experience on this like higher end one. So, I would have to think Nintendo has this in the cards, right?
I don't want sort of an incremental upgrade. I want a brand new Super Switch. I want a super powerful Switch. I'll tell you why.
Well, that's an incremental upgrade, right? Like, do you want different cartridges, like ones that don't work on the old console?
Yes.
Oh, so you want a brand new console? That's what you got to say.
Listen,
you want a brand new console.
The Switch is, by all intents and purposes, a walking 360, right? A portable 360. And that was okay when it was just a generation behind us, right? Just a generation behind. But now we're in a new generation. We're in PS5, we're in Series X, super powerful. They can't be 2 generations behind, right? I want a brand new. I want a walking PS4 at least, minimum. That's what I want.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, but they won't do that because they're not going to cut off support on a console that's doing incredibly well, only like 3.5 years out. They're not going to be like, hey, we're dropping this. They're going to eke out.
Well, 4 years. I would say wait until 2022 on the fifth year, and then move on to the next thing.
Maybe 5 to 6 years is typically a console generation. So at that point, sure. Then, if that's the strategy, then there is no XL version. There is no souped up version. the better battery life version already came out. You know, they found ways to improve it and like reduce costs on their end most likely, and give you better battery life. So that's the bump in that case, right?
Well, no matter what, Nintendo can be patient. Mm-hmm. And that's because it just came out that Nintendo is Japan's richest company.
Wow, bigger than
Let
Sony.
Let that sink in. They're bigger
Sony.
They're bigger than Sony. Then it's Japan's richest company, bigger than Konami. Right? When people think of Konami, they don't really make a lot of AAA games anymore. But Konami is really big in Japan. Right? They have a lot of different businesses.
Yeah, Konami is big in the pachinko market, right? A lot of people love the
not just pachinko market.
Machine.
They have gyms.
Do they? Konami gyms? Wow.
Well, is that called Konami gyms? But they have gyms.
They own a gym company. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
They have their hands in a lot of different businesses.
Right. But I mean, like Nintendo has part ownership in the Pokemon company, right? I think they're like 30% stakeholders, maybe.
Yeah, it's 1/3. They own the 1/3.
Right. So they have that, which is big. Their gaming division obviously is their bread and butter, and that's doing huge. I don't know if they have other holdings necessarily, but
yeah, they have holdings in that mobile game company that was making some Nintendo mobile games. They own a part of that too.
Oh yeah, sure. And those did like pretty damn well. Like Pokemon Go did gangbusters. That was good. You know, Mario Run did good, not up to expectations, but. Yeah, man.
Well, it did. Pokemon. I mean, it did really well. It just didn't do as well as other mobile games.
Right.
If you know, like in a vacuum, if I say this is what Mario Run did, you would say that's great. But then if I compare it to other mobile games, you're like, that's terrible.
You compare it to Candy Crush, forget about it. It did terrible. It had like 10 downloads comparatively. It's interesting to think that Sony is not. Or like one of the big car manufacturers is not, or someone like Hitachi or Mitsubishi, right? Mitsubishi makes cars, they make TVs, they make like everything. You think like, oh yeah, that's got to be one of the most diverse companies. Or like Konami, right? Konami makes games. They have pachinko. They have exercise companies. Like, yeah. Nintendo wouldn't be the company I would think to be number one, but then looking at it, it kind of makes sense because they have very successful properties.
Nintendo is number one.
Yeah, man. Well, there you go. Congrats to Nintendo. Little golf clap on this end. We salute you. And I think we're gonna go out on that high note, right? And we're gonna go out on a little bit of a happy note. We know 2020 has kind of been a shit show right now, so we do definitely appreciate you guys listening and taking your mind off things and listening to a gaming podcast about gaming. Because that kind of matters a lot to us. And if you guys want to interact with us, and we know you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon at Rated G for Gamers. Also, we are part of the Gaming Podcast Alliance, so check out all of the fine podcasts featured on there at gamingpodcastalliance.com if you're looking for more gaming goodness. So please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.